This is our old friend Colin Cowherd and his top 10 NFL teams heading into week 5. So we do our own power rankings every week. So let's see what Colin thinks, or who Colin thinks is the 10 best teams in the NFL.
Hierarchy. First time I've done it this year. I feel like every team, in fact, I feel good about 11 teams.
Man, talk about late start, huh? 5 weeks into the season, or 4 weeks into the season, we're just not doing the power rankings. I've got 4 weeks worth, Colin.
In the herd hierarchy, but I only have 10. So one of them, Tennessee, is 11th, but let's go with our 10.
Herd hierarchy.
Time is now. Let's go.
The top 10 NFL teams according to Colin. Number 10.
I'm going to go Cleveland Browns, number 10, over Tennessee, because I think they're more explosive offensively. 30-plus points in 3 straight games. Only team to average 200 yards rushing per game this year. Most rushing touchdowns in the NFL with 8. Their defense, though,
Master Killer, thank you very much for hanging out in the stream, man. We'll leave you to it. Gents, have a nice day. Thank you very much, man. Be sure to come back. We enjoyed having you in here today. Have a great day over in Morocco. As far as the Browns go, I mean, hey, look. You know, they're 3-1. I don't think the Browns are very good. They're going to be good when they can run for 300 yards a game. But if they can't do that every game and they force Baker Mayfield to make plays, I don't know if they can be the 10th best team in the NFL. With that being said, I like to make my top 10 to where I'm pretty comfortable with the 10 all, being true contenders. And I don't think the Browns are contenders at all. So it's always difficult for me to put them into that top 10.
I think it can be susceptible to the big play on the back end, has the most turnovers with 10. I think if you're in Cleveland, Kevin Stefanski feels like finally a grown-up, a teacher in the room for Baker Mayfield. I think Cleveland's a playoff team. That's what we predicted. I have them at 10. The Colts. Now, they play this weekend, and I like the Colts.
Jeez, the Colts is the 9th best team? I don't know about that. I mean, Phillip Rivers, I get it, I guess, but I just don't. I think their ceiling is so low with Phillip Rivers.
Colts to win. That's why I put them at 9. Their offense is not as explosive. Phillip Rivers exactly 1 touchdown pass in each of the games, but their defense is the best in the league right now. Number 1 in.
That's true. Their defense, you wouldn't know it, but the defense is the best defense in the league. So if they can continue that, they have a great organizational structure. They have a great coaching staff. They have talent. It's just I don't know if they can beat some of these other teams with a Phillip Rivers-led offense right now. You have to kind of be, this is a different NFL where 10 years ago, 15 years ago, defense won championships. That went away a long time ago. The Patriots won Super Bowls with the worst defense in the league. You got to be able to score. If you can't score, you're not gonna win. That's why I think. I mean, I get it, I guess. But again, this is a team that I think just has a really low ceiling.
And everything, points, yards, third down, passing yards, only team to allow fewer than 300 total yards in all 4 games this year. Again, a limited offense, but I think they beat Cleveland. If I'm wrong, I'll flip-flop them. Steelers. Listen, they've beaten bad teams. That's what we're.
Steelers are good. Steelers are good. They're kind of good in the same way Indianapolis is good, where they have a great defense, have a great pass rush. Roethlisberger, I think, is a little bit better than Rivers right now. I'd rather have Roethlisberger in a 2-minute drill than Rivers. James Conner, Juju, they got some decent skill players or skill position players. I would trust Pittsburgh over Indy. I think this is about right. I would have Pittsburgh around 8 or 7, somewhere in there. I think I have them 7 this week, somewhere in there. So I'm fine with this.
Worries me. Giants, Broncos, Texans are a combined 0-9. But it's hard to run on them. You can't deny their front 7 personnel is out of this world good, and Tomlin's a defensive coach. Plus, they have Minkah Fitzpatrick behind that. One of 5 teams to average 25 points a game and fewer than 20. They've played bad teams. They are back. I don't know how high the ceiling is, but I'll put them at 8. But
as far as their ceiling, I mean, they could challenge for a spot in the AFC Championship game. I don't think they're not like one of the final 4 teams, but they're right on that cusp. But if they ended up there, I wouldn't be totally shocked.
I think Buffalo would beat them on a neutral field, so I have the Bills at 7.
Buffalo's got to be way higher than this, I think. I mean, Buffalo probably right now has the most talented roster in the NFL, and their quarterback is playing as good as anybody. Buffalo has impressed me so much. This is close to being right. I might have them a little higher up, but we'll see what he says here.
I love their coaching. I like their defense. Doesn't quite feel as ferocious as last year, but Josh Allen is the story. 15 touchdowns, 1 pick this season. Stephon Diggs has added a deep threat element they did not have. 3 games with a completion percentage of 70% or more. He looks like a baby Big Ben, but even more athletic.
He's way better than that right now. I mean, he's incredible. Josh Allen right now, I mean, you're talking about he is way up there as far as like he is taking over this team. I mean, he's almost as important to this team as like when Peyton Manning was for the Colts, where Josh Allen is doing literally everything. I mean, if he was the only thing he could do more is if he played defense. I will admit the defense is an interesting thing. Because coming into the season, all I heard about was this is the best defense in the NFL, and right now they're not even like above average. I mean, they're giving up a lot of points, a lot of yards every single game. So I haven't seen the defense really do much for being as heralded as they were. So if the defense can step up a little bit and become an actual thing, then the sky is the limit for this team. Right now, I think they're a true AFC Championship contender. They can beat anyone on any day as long as Josh Allen's playing good. But I need to see more from this defense before I believe they're a true Super Bowl threat. Just because, and the reason I say that is that it's Josh Allen or bust. So if the defense is giving up 30 points a game and asking Josh Allen to single-handedly basically get you 30 points every game is going to be tough.
I really like Buffalo. They feel like a team capable, barring injuries, of doing all the things you need to do. Well coached, don't turn it over, good run defense, and an explosive dynamic at wide receiver. Seattle. I don't know if Seattle is 6. I'm just putting them up there because of Russell Wilson. There's so much about Seattle I don't like. They have no pass rush. Their defense, they bad on the back end, but they hit. They've got some playmakers, and Russell Wilson is insane right now.
I don't know about this. I don't know about 6. I mean, you're talking about one or 1A best quarterback in the NFL. What his best offense, their receiving core is incredible. DK Metcalf, Lockett, Chris Carson's a good running back. Jamal Adams is out there, probably right now the defensive player of the year. Yeah, their defense isn't good, but they have headhunters. They have players back there. It's not like they're a lame duck defensively. So this feels really low for Seattle, in my opinion. I think Seattle is far and away the best team in the NFC right now. Obviously, he thinks Green Bay is much better than Seattle. But if you were to tell me Green Bay is playing Seattle, I'm taking Seattle every day of the week.
He is the best player in the world. Aaron Rodgers and Mahomes, they can argue for number 2. I put them at 6 because I thought they'd beat Buffalo in a neutral field because of Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson. I think Buffalo's more complete. But there's, again, Russell Wilson's playing right now at a level that you just don't see. Tom Brady's
True.
best year, he wasn't this because he
True.
didn't have the escapability. Seattle at 6. Tampa Bay, this is interesting. Brady has increased his...
What? How? He thinks Tampa Bay is better than Seattle? How? I don't see this at all. How? I think Tampa Bay is good. I would have Tampa Bay around this 10, 9, 8 area. 5? I don't know. I think Colin's has a bit of a hangover to Brady's last game. Brady is not a 400 yards, 5 touchdown a game kind of guy anymore. So if you're talking about a guy who's probably closer to the 15th to 20th best quarterback in the NFL, what else you got? Yes, they have a really good defense, but I mean, is their defense better than Indianapolis's? No, not right now. So if you're just giving me this defense, because you're not giving me this offense, because Brady is not some dynamic quarterback, I don't know. I mean, this seems way high for Tampa Bay.
His passer rating in each game. Brady's offense, total yardage, increased in every game. We knew the defense would be good. It's second best in the NFL against the run. But I like that Brady has now, it took him a month, he has found his guy. It's Mike Evans. So Brady has Leonard Fournette, and they're doing it, by the way, without Chris Godwin, and Leonard Fournette just got there.
Yeah, Leonard Fournette didn't even play last week.
Has been injured. This offense, O.J. Howard is out now for the year. I know that's bad news, but now they still have 2 really good tight ends. But I like they're getting better each week, and he has found Mike Evans as his go-to receiver.
I just think this is kind of the problem people have at Tampa Bay at the beginning of the season was saying, oh, they have a really good tight end, Rob Gronkowski. Do they? How good is Rob Gronkowski? Rob Gronkowski hasn't played a full season in, 4 years? I mean, he hasn't been... Colin, bro, just quit just can you relax for 1 second, Colin? Can you just quit staring at me? But I get it on paper where you're like, wow, they have Leonard Fournette. He'll get going. Gronkowski will get going. Remember how good he was? Brady will get going. Remember how good he was? And it's like, well, yeah, I remember 4 years ago, but Brady last year was not very good at all. Brady was a middle-of-the-road at best quarterback in a system he knew. Now you got Gronkowski, who's supposed to be your best tight end. Gronkowski admitted to himself that he's more of an offensive lineman at this point in his career. He's not going to go out there and be a top 5 tight end in the NFL. And I think this is more of like the paper champion thing where, yes, on paper, in Madden, this looks great. On the field, reality is you have a below-average quarterback, a below-average tight end, a bang-average running back, and that's really about it.
Evans as his go-to receiver. Let's not sell all of our stock on Baltimore. I'm going to have them at number 4 because they're the only team in the league. 27
I think this is exactly where I have them at number 4, so I wholeheartedly agree with this one.
straight games rushing over 100 yards. Lamar Jackson is still really good. Am I concerned they're 0-10 when trailing at halftime in the last 2 years?
Yeah, they can't play for the thing with the Ravens is they have a great system, but they have to be ahead. Because when they're ahead, they can run, they can do what they want to do and still get separation. When they're behind, they have to abandon what they do best, and it's hard for them to play catch-up. Here's the deal with Baltimore. If Lamar Jackson is not playing at an MVP level, they really can't win very much. I mean, they can win. They can be a double-digit win team, but they're not going to be a Super Bowl contender unless he's playing at an MVP level. He played at an MVP level last year, and they didn't even make it to the conference championship game. So Baltimore does have some issues, and if you take away Lamar Jackson, their skill players just aren't that dynamic. Their defense is good, coaching is good, but they're a bit too much of a one-trick pony for me.
Yes, that is something. It's not good. I think Russell Wilson and Patrick Mahomes and certain quarterbacks are better when trailing. But, they got the Bengals coming up at Philadelphia. They're going to post some more wins here. I think we'll really know more about them. They face the Steelers in Week 7, at the Colts Week 9, at the Patriots Week 10. This is still a championship-level football team that just frankly doesn't match up with Kansas City very well, and who does? New England. They win that game with Cam Newton. I'm not going to...
Woo! Woo! This is heavy. So it's obvious it's going to be New England, Green Bay, and Kansas City. But here's my thing on New England. I think New England's really good. I think New England's probably, down here a bit. Like they're worse than Seattle. The thing with New England is, are they really good, really well coached? Absolutely. Do they have a good defense? Absolutely. Is Cam Newton playing well? Absolutely. But they're the same as Baltimore, where what happens if they get down? We're going to need Super Cam to get them back. They're more of a grinded-out, old-school team. Does that match up with the Seattles and the Kansas Cities of the world? Yes, they just play Kansas City well, and if they had Cam, could they have won? Possibly. Hard to say they would. I lean towards that they probably would have, but I think it's one of those deals where they aren't the juggernaut of the NFL to where they can be 3, but they can certainly beat anybody on any given day. So, I mean, they deserve a spot in the top 10. I'd have them a little closer in here. Neutral field, I'd probably take Baltimore ahead of them, Buffalo ahead of them, Seattle ahead of them, but I wouldn't be surprised if they were in the AFC Championship game. But 3 seems high.
Going to punish them for last night because Cam Newton's coming back, according to stories this morning. Folks, right now, only team to hold the Chiefs without a touchdown in the first half in the Mahomes era, they've done it 3 times. This is a real football team. They just need Cam. I also would love if they went out and got a deep threat, but I'm not going to punish them. Their upcoming schedule's got a lot of wins. Broncos, Jets. I just think they're really good with Cam.
I said this earlier on my show, but they're better right now than they were last year. They are better with Cam than with Tom Brady.
Their defense has 8 takeaways. That's second most. And again, they have not played bad teams. They have played Seattle. They have played Kansas City. They're playing real football teams. I have them at 3.
Lost to them both.
3. But Green Bay's win last night, missing their top 2 wide receivers, was the most impressive they had been. Again.
Yeah, I mean, Green Bay's really good right now. Like Green Bay, same with Seattle, where Green Bay has played some bad teams, and Green Bay has done the job against the bad teams. Their quarterback is playing outside of his mind. My worry is what happens when they play a good team and they have no defense. They can't stop anything. They're missing star position, skill position players. What happens then? Can Aaron Rodgers play at that high of a level? They are really similar to me to Seattle, and I think Seattle just has more talent. So I get them being good. I get them being high up here, but I just don't get the discrepancy between them and Seattle when really it's kind of the exact same team.
And
Seattle has beaten better teams.
protection is excellent right now. Aaron.
Yeah, I mean, they have the best offensive line in the NFL.
Aaron's comfortable. He's got a running game. He's got time to throw. He's got multiple tight end and wide receiving targets.
Oh, yeah, who? Like, who are the multiple wide receiver targets? I mean, Lazar's out for a while. Devontae Adams hasn't played. Who are these people? Vontez Scantling or whatever, and the tight end? Who are the options? I think they ran I think 5 running backs had receptions last week or something. They're running like 4 running back sets. I don't know who he's talking about. That seems like kind of a buzz phrase.
Aaron's got 13 TDs, no picks. They also have the best point differential in the NFL at 51. And through the years, there's 2 things that generally matter in the NFL playoffs. What are you
quarterbacks?
You averaging yards per play? That matters because it means you're explosive. And what's your point differential? Baltimore's was huge last year. Those are things that matter as the seasons go on.
That proved to not matter at all when they got slapped up by Tennessee.
Really great teams blow about 7 teams out over the course of the season. That's what the Niners in Kansas City and Baltimore did last year. Packers #1 in the NFL in point differential. It matters. Kansas City, but I
mean, it matters to an extent, but whenever you're playing a really bad, like Green Bay's played bad teams, Detroit, Atlanta, Minnesota, Saints. Like, I'm not saying the Saints are bad, but it's like obviously they have a good point differential. They're playing probably some of the worst teams in the NFL.
I don't think it is by much as I thought a couple of weeks ago. I think Cam in New England would have beaten them last night. I think Aaron Rodgers could beat them. Baltimore doesn't match up well, but I think if Seattle's O-line is not as bad as I think, they could maybe run the football on them. I'm going to give them the #1 team, but I don't think they're quite as dominating as I thought. Hi, everybody.
I'm okay with that, man. That was quick.
Here.
That was a really quick move there. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with, man, he must have been on a time crunch. This dude went 6 minutes on everyone else and went about 8 seconds on the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs are the #1 team in the NFL. I think that I kind of agree that it's closer than I think people perceive it to be, whereas I think more teams can challenge them. But I still think they're a heavy favorite against most of these teams. I think Seattle could challenge them. Green Bay, any of these teams with like stud quarterbacks. The Rodgers, the Russell Wilsons, even the Josh Allens, sure. And then the really well coached teams like New England, yeah, sure. But when it's all said and done, I just think that Kansas City has a whole different gear. I mean, they have a whole different level. They have a whole different. I mean, they dominated Baltimore. They beat New England. I mean, even though New England didn't have Cam Newton, but they are doing what they're beating good teams, And I just think that whenever the chips are down, or however you want to phrase it, Patrick Mahomes, then they can go into that next gear. So until we see someone beat them, until we see someone really put them in their place, it's hard for me to say like they're not the clear cut #1. I think there is a gap between 1 and the rest of the NFL.